welcome to TNT. This week we are hunting the great state of Kansas, and hopefully before the week is done we'll have a big whitetail buck on the ground. This is TNT.
TNT Outdoor Explosion is brought to you by Prime Real Estate Group, where experience has its rewards. ESP Digital Hearing Protection. Empower your hearing. HuntingTrophy.com. Logistics experts.
I've been hunting with 180 Outdoors for many years, and everyone knows that Kansas is a hotbed for whitetail. And the guys at 180 Outdoors do an absolutely phenomenal job of getting the whitetail up close, and they have a lot of land to hunt. Matt gave me a call and told me that he had an opening coming up for the next archery season, and I immediately put in for a tag, and luckily for me I got drawn, so I was going to be heading to Kansas yet again for another archery hunt.
Well, this week we are hunting with one of my good friends, two of my good friends actually, Matt and Devin Wanzer. They own 180 Outdoors in Kansas, and we've done a lot of shows with these guys over the years, and there has been some really big deer killed. I know one year when we got there they had a 204 on the ground, which I know is not realistic for us to find that, I don't think, but we'll be looking for a good mature trophy buck anyway. These guys have an absolutely great hunting operation and lots of big land in Kansas. And this week is archery season here in Kansas, so we'll hopefully be able to put an arrow through something before the week is done. It's going to be a fun week. It's too dang hot, but maybe we'll get lucky anyway.
Yeah, you did.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm Andrew.
Andrew, Todd Cast.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Well, when we finally got to Kansas, it was pretty late in the evening, so I decided just to check the bow from the trip so that we would be ready to go first thing in the morning.
Money. All right, well, we've shot some arrows here, and I'm not going to be able to blame the bow this week. Put a nice group there, about a 1-inch group. So, hopefully, we can get a deer into bow range, and we'll have a big Kansas buck on the ground.
Well, we've had a challenging year this year with the weather everywhere that we've hunted, but we knew it was going to be hot and windy and not ideal conditions for whitetail hunting, but regardless, the next morning we were up and in the stand.
It's our first morning in Kansas. It's real windy today. Hot this morning and windy, but there's a cold front coming in tonight. We're sitting in a bowl. They call it the pinch blind, which is a good name for it because it's the perfect pinch point between two big sets of woods. So we got timber pinch all around us. Now we just gotta wait for a deer to walk by.
All right, well, we just wrapped up the first morning here in Kansas, and unfortunately it's about 80 degrees today and gale force winds. So other than rocking in a tree stand, we didn't do anything this morning. We got some trail camera cards while we were out just now, so we're gonna look at the trail cameras, and hopefully there's a big buck coming in the daylight to one of our spots. Let's go look at trail cams. All right, well, we just looked at the trail cam pictures of
Hair clip ridge.
Hair Clip Ridge. I said it wrong 50 times. But it's a new spot we're looking at, and there's a definite shooter in there. He just showed me on the trail cams, nice 10 point.
Yep.
And so we're hoping that this buck will make an appearance for us in daylight hours, and we're gonna put the smackdown on him. But it's a good testament to these guys at 180 Outdoors, how they do their scouting. They've got trail cameras everywhere, so they have a pretty good idea of what's coming in wherever you sit. So thanks to you guys for doing that work, because that helps hunters like us out a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we're trying a new area this morning in Kansas. We saw one 8-point deer this morning already, but it was just a young 8-point. Nowhere near a shooter. Looks like a pretty good area. We'll give it a shot. They've got a couple other areas if this doesn't work out, but the guys at 180 Outdoors here in Kansas do a good job. And it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And it's Kansas, so we know the big bucks are here. We just got to be where they are.
Well, we just finished a morning sit at a new spot, and we're hunting here in Kansas with 180 Outdoors, and it's a really good spot. We had a number of deer moving throughout the area, and we saw the definite shooter that we were hoping to see. He was probably 100 yards out moving through the timber. I was able to get a brief look at him, but long enough to know that he's a no doubt shooter, but he never came close to us. I grunted at him a couple times, but they're not quite ready for that here. But we put out a few things that might entice him to come in during daylight hours, which is ideally what we're hoping for. So we're gonna get out of here. It's the end of the morning hunt, go have some lunch, and probably get back in the stand early this afternoon. And with any luck at all, the big shooter will walk our way. Unfortunately, that big buck did not come in the afternoon, so we decided to head in for dinner and hope tomorrow was gonna be our day.
Well, the good news is the northern did hit. We've got rain, light rain, and heavy fog this morning. Much, much cooler. Still a north wind. So I would expect to see a deer at any moment. Unfortunately, we have not seen anything at all yesterday or this morning. All we can do is keep trying, hoping.
Well, the next morning the cold front had rolled in. It had brought a little bit of rain, but some heavy fog with it. And in my experience, normally when it's foggy out, you're obviously not going to see a whole lot because the deer don't usually move when their vision is limited. But if you'll sit it out and be patient, when the fog lifts, the deer will move. Well, now that the fog had lifted and we saw deer moving, we decided it was a good day for an all-day sit. And we saw plenty of deer that day, but unfortunately, we didn't see the shooter.
It's been a long, tough week. And we are in our 4th sit at a different location, 4th place. And the deer just haven't been on their feet much during the daylight this week. It was hot the first part of the week, and then it cooled off, so we thought that would get them moving, but it really hasn't, so starting to get a little worried.
Well, in true TNT fashion, we are down to our last day. But the good news is, the weather prediction for our last day will be the coldest temperatures it had been in Kansas since we arrived.
Okay, it's early morning here in Kansas. It's about 5:15, and we just pulled up to our parking spot, and we're about to walk into the woods. And the bucks are on. We think they started moving good and started chasing some does. So with any luck at all, we'll have a buck on the ground shortly after daylight.
Well, as the sun was coming up, there was still some light fog, but you could see through it pretty well. And I could see a lot of deer moving all around us, in front of us, to our right, to our left, and even behind us. And luckily, behind us, one of the deer that we saw moving and coming through a trail was a big, mature 8-point. So as soon as I saw that deer, I stood up in my stand and got ready with my bow.
Going down. That, my friends, is why you frickin' hunt Kansas. Yes, yes, yes. Talk about a big, big buck. We have been hunting our butts off for 7 straight days. It's freezing, everything's wet this morning. There's fog, there's dew. You know what? Persistence pays off, and I give the credit to those guys at 180 Outdoors. Devin and Matt have busted their tails for us. Put us everywhere they could put us this week. It was so bad the first 5 days because it was so hot and windy. This cold weather hit and Devin said, it's on. You need to be grunting. You need to be calling them in. And sure enough, came right here broadside and I just saw him fall. He fell over there, so I'm done. That's Kansas.
Well, after a long, hard week of hunting with temperatures and weather very inconsistent and all over the place, I finally got to put my hands on a Kansas big buck.
What a big, beautiful Kansas whitetail. Beautiful mainframe, typical 8. Excellent eye guards, long main beams. This is a very mature buck. This is probably a 5.5-year-old buck. I could not be happier to have this big guy on the ground. Special thanks to 180 Outdoors. They've done a phenomenal job this week. Folks, if you're looking to hunt in Kansas, I strongly recommend give either Matt or Devin a call at 180 Outdoors. Those guys have done a great job for us, and this is our 4th time with them, and we've been very fortunate to get some great deer. And you know, it was one of those mornings. It was just a foggy morning, but it was really cold and foggy. The sun's came out now and it's warming up nicely, and through all of that I get my hands on this big Kansas bruiser. Man, life is good.
Wow, what an absolutely great time we had again with 180 Outdoors in Kansas. These guys are top notch, and I can't wait to go back again next year and put another bruiser on the ground. Hey, if you'd like to find out more information about 180 Outdoors or any of the sponsors or outfitters seen on our show, go to our Facebook page at TNT Outdoor Explosion. Thanks for watching this week, and until next week, remember, do what you love and share it with your family.
Closed captioning brought to you by ESP America. TNT Outdoor Explosion is brought to you by Prime Real Estate Group, where experience has its rewards. ESP Digital Hearing Protection. Empower your hearing. HuntingTrophy.com. Logistics experts.
So it's good and cool out. The deer are moving great, right?
Not very windy.
No wind, nice and cool, and the deer are just running you over. Jason, all that fun stuff. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted you to say. Okay, we are legal, ready to hunt. Head to the blind in 10 minutes, or 2 hours, or tomorrow morning, whatever we decide.